So I love a good, small, but powerful video light. And this one is actually pretty affordable. So SmallRig just released this light. This is the SmallRig RC60B. And as you can see, it is a very small light, and the B stands for bicolor. So this can go from your super warm color temperatures all the way up to your super cool daylight temperatures. But one thing you'll notice about this SmallRig light is that it actually has an internal battery. So you can see it's on right now, and this battery will last at full power for about 45 minutes. There's also an eco mode that you can turn on, which will make it last a little longer at a lower power. But the really cool thing about this RC60B is that it can also be run off of USB-C power banks. So it actually comes with this little clamp, and you can just clamp that onto the back. You can have a USB-C power bank powering this light for a lot longer. The 60 in the name also refers to 60 watts, which is pretty bright for such a small light. That's around the same amount of power that my Godox ML60 spits out, which is what's lighting me right now, or something like the Aperture 120D or the SL60W. So what makes this SmallRig RC60 different than little lights like this? Well, I would say that the biggest difference is the battery. This little light is nice and small and everything, but you do need to add this handle to it in order to power it. So then this small little light becomes a lot bigger because you really have to have this handle in order to make it work. You could argue that the SmallRig RC60B is a much more cost-effective light because this light has an internal battery, so you don't have to buy any new batteries to make it work. And instead of having to buy Sony MPF batteries, you can use just a simple battery bank that maybe you already have for your cell phone. And you can even use V-mount batteries, which have much larger capacities. This one that I'm using right now is the SmallRig VB99 V-mount battery, and it has a USB out that you can power things like this RC60B. The biggest competition to this SmallRig RC60B is actually the bicolor version of the light that's lighting me right now, which is the Godox ML60B. But the biggest difference is that this SmallRig light is only $200, whereas the Godox equivalent is $300. And not only is this SmallRig light less expensive, but it's also brighter than the Godox equivalent. So let's talk about the color accuracy of the SmallRig RC60B. It has a CRI rating of 97 and a TLCI rating of 98. So that's really helpful when you're trying to get nice, accurate colors in your videos. Right now I have the RC60B in my Photech soft lighter, and it's just giving me a really nice side light that's motivated by the window behind me. I did put 2 shears in front of this window just to soften the natural light coming in. And then on camera left, I have some negative fill, which is giving me a little bit more contrast on this side of my body. And then I also have some negative fill just behind the camera so that no natural light comes in and then bounces off my walls and fills in these shadows. The really nice thing about this RC60B is that it is bicolor. So you can do shots like this or this. So for this lighting setup, I have, again, the RC60B inside of my Photech soft lighter, and I have it set to 3200 Kelvin. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to motivate my key with the practical that's on behind me. You'll see a lot of cinematographers do that. They'll use a practical to motivate the light that's on the subject. I also draped a couple of shears on top of the Photech soft lighter just to give it a really nice soft light on my face. And then to camera left, I have more negative fill, which is absorbing the light because we do have white walls in this room. So it's absorbing the light, so I get a little bit more contrast here on my face. And then I used some more negative fill, which is really just blackout curtains that I'm, taping up to my wall, but I have it blacking out a window that's on this side of the room just so that no more ambient light comes in. So that's what's really nice about this RC60B is that it's a powerful light, but it's also bicolor. So whether or not you're trying to motivate your key light from a practical or from daylight, you can do it with the RC60B. Okay, so at a price point of only $200, This is definitely a really good deal for what this light can do, but there are some cons which I want to talk about. The first con that I kind of realized when I first got this light was that the charge time is really, really long. It took about 24 hours to charge the internal battery of this light, but I think that SmallRig designed this light to be used with a power bank. So even though you're only going to get about 45 minutes at full power with the internal battery, this is kind of designed to be used with an external battery if you're needing to do really, really long shoots. Something else that's kind of a bummer with this light is that the fan is really loud. Even when you're just charging it and there's no light on at all, when you're at 0%, the fan is still on and it's still pretty loud. In fact, listen to it right now. It's not the loudest light in the world, but it's definitely audible. So if you're like Tom Cruise and you need absolute silence, then this light might bum you out. Something else that could be a con with this RC60B is that there's no way to control it wirelessly, as far as I know. And with all my Godox lights, I can control them wirelessly with a Bluetooth app. But with this RC60B, I'm not able to do that. And finally, the last con that I kind of want to touch on is the mount. This is yet another proprietary mount that is not Bowen's mount. When I first got my Godox ML60, that had a proprietary mount, but slowly over time, Godox released more and more accessories for the ML series of their lights. This is SmallRig's first small little light with a proprietary mount, so you might have to wait a while to get different accessories. They do have a really small softbox that they released, but as far as other accessories go, you're really limited with this light. So now I have the RC60B set up in my soft lighter, and this is how I would do kind of like a YouTube talking head shot. And I think that overall, if you are looking for a really nice compact light that's built really well, has an internal battery, and can be just a really small and nimble light to just bring around with you in your backpack, this is a perfect light for you. And even if you're just looking for your first light and you don't want it to have to take up a bunch of space in your studio, the nice thing about having a small light is that you can use small light stands. You don't need big, heavy-duty light stands or C-stands. And if I was first starting out and I didn't have a bunch of Godox lights already established here in my studio, I would probably get a couple of these RC60Bs and just use these as my main lights for my YouTube setups and for professional work. There are other small lights from companies like Zhuin and Godox, of course, but I think that this SmallRig one has the benefit of being really small with an internal battery, and you can run it for hours off of a power bank or a V-mount battery like I'm doing now. So shout out to SmallRig for making a really cool light. I really dig it, and for sending it in for review. And if you want to check out some more of my videos, you can click on either side of my face. And remember, the biggest secret that I've learned being on YouTube for the past 17 years is actually that you really have to